Come on, bring it in. Bring it in. What's going on, my lane ones? It's your boy MoashDMC back in the building, baby. And today I have the video that I've been promising you guys for quite some time. I think every video, or I think the last 3 videos, I mentioned this video, and I'm finally going to put it out there for you. Today we're going to be talking about the 5th Yonko, or just how the balance of power has shifted, and we may get another faction that is reminiscent to Yonko. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. I'm not even going to waste your time because there's a lot to talk about, and I want to get down to the nitty gritty. You guys know how I am. MoashDMC, all about the business, baby. So let's get into the video. Yonko crew, I think I spelled it right. YONCKOCREW, Yonko crew. And to be honest, I didn't really want to say Yonko. I was trying to look up another word for like 5 emperors or just 5 kings, but I couldn't figure it out. So let's just go with 5 kings. You know what? Let's actually change that, okay? Let's change that to, instead of Yonko crew, let's say 5 kings. All right, let's do that. 5 kings. Can't type. There we go. Okay. I like being real authentic and transparent with you guys. So 5 kings: power, influence, territory, and threat. So right off the bat, the reason why I have these 7 warlords is because essentially they were a faction that was supposed to not really rival the Yonko, but they were part of the power balance or the power dynamic of the One Piece verse. And now with the Seraphim, they sort of just like X'd off. But realistically, because of them teaming up, they became a Yonko crew. So they were the warlords, but now that Crocodile, Mihawk, and Buggy, I don't know how they feel about Buggy, but essentially since Buggy was an ex-Roger Pirate and he is the face of their crew, they became a Yonko crew. So that sort of put some stake in the warlords themselves. Now imagine if Dofi didn't get captured. Imagine Mora wasn't with Blackbeard. Imagine Boa was also siding with them. Now also imagine Kuma. If they were to sit together and form their own, just like one singular crew, they would also be viewed as a One Piece crew. As a Yonko crew. So I just want to talk about power. And the reason why I'm saying the 5 kings, or essentially I'm talking about another Yonko crew, is realistically because of everything that's happening on Egghead, which has a lot to do with the warlords. So a lot of the discussion when the Seraphim were originally introduced was that, okay, they're just a clone of the warlords, right? And then a lot of people were like, okay, they have Lunarian DNA, because obviously the brown skin, the white hair, the black wings, the flame, we all knew, except for Zoro, obviously, that those people had Lunarian blood. But a lot of the discussion was that, did they actually have the same type of power as Lunarians? By, if their flames are on, they're really durable. If their flames are off, they're fast. Many people were going back and forth with it. I was one of the people who was like, obviously it just makes the most sense that they're going to be as durable as King, because they have Lunarian blood, and that's probably the whole premise of them having Lunarian blood, because it just adds to their durability besides the other attributes that they bring, also being a cyborg, also having Devil Fruit abilities, also having some type of knowledge or memories of the past person they took the DNA or the lineage factor from. And now that we have confirmation from Zoro himself, saying that, yeah, and also Shaka, that, yeah, they have Lunarian blood, and their toughness comes from the fact they have Lunarian blood, but also we also see on full display, not like just like a mimicry of the Lunarian blood, but like literally having the same type of toughness, with Lucci and Luffy combining attacks after they both didn't use advanced Haki or Rio or internal destruction like they would usually do, like with him with Atlas, but they were still able to take these hits and get back up. And it's really interesting, like, okay, so they really are durable. Then Zoro was using one sword style and Kaku was in base, still hitting S-Hawk. And I'm like, okay, they truly are durable. Now, we want to shift now that we actually physically know that they have the toughness of the Lunarians, but also some battle knowledge and experiences of the warlords, but also being able to make their own decisions. And now we see Snake having her own emotions. It's starting to get to the point where, like, okay, now that we physically know that these people are really like that, right? One of the biggest things Pythagoras talked about was that they didn't have the battle experience, and that them facing a Yonko crew versus like when they originally had that little stint with the Straw Hats, they were gaining battle experience in that moment. But now they're since we haven't seen the Seraphim up until this point, they're getting, and it was after the revelry that they actually confided in the SSG and actually was putting their faith in the Seraphim. They're now getting battle experience, and if you want to get battle experience, why not start at the upper echelon? Why not start at the top fighting a Yonko crew? So if they're not destroyed or subdued, right, and they do fall into the wrong hands, this would eventually shift the power balance again, because now not only are they durability at the pinnacle with King being a Lunarian, having fighting prowess just like the warlords, having Darrow fruits that fit them to fit them to a T. Now, getting the battle experience, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with in this season. Now, people love to talk about commander level, like first, third, second, first commander level, Yonko level, admiral level, stuff like that. If we're being realistic, since we're seeing them right now, I'm not gonna put the Seraphim up. Like, they're already, like, just by having the Lunarian DNA, they're already up there in the Yonko, in the commander power level. But I'm not going to be the first one to just put them above first commander level, because honestly speaking, even though they do have the toughness, we haven't really seen much of them when it comes to actually being able to deal damage on these people. Well, okay, maybe not, because S-Snake was getting busy, but S-Hawk and S-Bear maybe not, but essentially they're fighting the stronger opponents, so it's easier for them to do, like, it's harder for them to actually do something. Rather as with S-Shark and S-Snake, they were getting busy, but still the opponents were not that good. We're gonna see. I'll base it based off S-Shark showing against Sanji, and how and if S-Snake essentially is going to be fighting Frankie alone now. So we'll see how it plays out. So I'll take it back. I will put them around first commander level because they do have some good showings, and it'd really be hard to put them down. And honestly speaking, the more battle experience they get, the stronger they're gonna get. So I'm gonna put them right at the first commander level, like all of them, right? And they're just gonna keep getting stronger as it progresses. Maybe even I'm not gonna put first commander level. I'll leave them at that. I'll put some. Yeah, I'm confident. I'm confident putting them all at first commander level. I don't think they could probably beat Katakuri. All right, let's come back. Let's bring it back. I'm not going to go too deep into the power scaling, but essentially, they are powerful figures in the world right now. And because we have the Pacifista hierarchy list, with Gorosei being at the top, then Vegapunk and the Stellas being second, third being Sentomaru, third being Sentomaru, and then last being the person with the authority chip. It's to the point where, since we do not know what's actually happening on Egghead Island, it's really interesting to see if it truly is a Gorosei member that is talking to these the Seraphim, ordering them to attack not only the Stellas but also the Cypher Pole agents. It's really interesting to me because if that is the case, then if it's a traitor, that if they have access to not only everything on Punk records, right? Like literally everything, like all the information that Vegapunk connected over the years, all the information from Ohara that he studied and stored inside his brain, basically all the information of the ancient kingdom that he's been working on trying to revitalize or bring back, like with all of that, and now you have the Seraphim at your beck and call. But not only that, you have monsterized sea beasts, mechanized sea beasts, you have Vega Force 01, you have organoids being grown in your lab. You have all this stuff, right? And this is why what Sentomaru said in the beginning of the chapter is so important, because if the traitor truly isn't, like people are saying that it's possibly Saturn, it would be really interesting to see that Saturn got from the ship all the way to Egghead without anyone noticing. Sentomaru sent Mark IIIs out to the shores to protect basically the people of the mainland, and then we didn't even see them dock. We didn't see Kizu's entrance. Kizu was even testing Saturn's food for poison because they wanted to protect him so much, and then they just gonna send him on the front lines to where that actual Yonko crew is. It's very hard for me to believe that it's actually Saturn, and people are talking about astral projection, things like that. I mean, those things are all possibilities because it could literally go anywhere. But if that's not the case, and someone's actually able to trump the command system of the Stellas and Vegapunk, on top of that, Vegapunk asks Shaka in this chapter, "Hey Shaka, who is that with you?" That means to me that Vegapunk has no idea who that person is, which also lends to believe that it's not a Stella and it's not one of the satellites. And if that's the case, that also means it's not Saturn, because Vegapunk also knows who Saturn is, because like Saturn said he met Vegapunk one time, and it was shown in the cover story that Vegapunk met with all the Gorosei members. So this is obviously a person that he does not know. So if it's a person he does not know, maybe it's not one of the warlords, because he may have gotten into contact with all the warlords, and that's why it lends me to believe it's possibly someone that he Blackbeard Pirates. But I'm not going to talk about the Blackbeard Pirates right now. But if this person is a traitor, but he also has access to the Punk records, to the Seraphim, but also the mechanized sea beasts, now you're talking about someone who has the power to rival other Yonko crews. And the biggest thing is, right, it wasn't just Yonko crews, because Yonko crew is not just like... With Yonkos, it's not just the crew that matters, right? The crew plays a big factor in it because it's the power and the people he can lead. But also, I think another prerequisite, that's why Luffy became a fifth Yonko after he got the Grand Fleet, is the fact that they have other people behind him, right? But in this case, if there's someone who can control the Seraphim, he doesn't need that, right? He doesn't need this grandioso fleet, because he has the Mark IIIs, he has the Sea Beasts, he has the Seraphim, and he has any other weaponized or mechanized thing on the island that he can basically give orders to in order to fight for them. And as we saw in Marineford, yes, pacifists can be mass produced, but you didn't need a lot of them to triumph over these like run-of-the-mill pirates. And to be honestly speaking, if the Mark IIIs are like this next level of pacifistas below the Seraphim, they could probably, just like 2 of them could probably be equal to like 2 ships of a fleet, honestly, for being real. So just being able to have that power and influence, being able to have that power in the palm of your hand is astronomical. But I'm also talking about influence, right? Because this person probably won't be well known. If Vegapunk doesn't know him, it's probably not a well known person. Do they have the influence enough in order to be a Yonko crew or one of the 5 kings? And right now, maybe not. But the best part about it is that is what propaganda is all for. That's what Big News Morgan is all for. Right now, he's writing a headline saying that Straw Hat Luffy is basically took Vegapunk hostage and stuff like that. And Viva's like, don't do that. But essentially, this Morgan was building up Luffy's resume for him before he even became a Yonko. So now let's look at it now, right? A Yonko crew has Vegapunk, right? Kizaru on his way with the Gorosei member. Now let's say the rescue mission fails, right? Let's say Luffy fails for the first time since post-time skip, right? Now the story isn't, Vegapunk was captured by Luffy. It was Yonko crew defeated, or so it's hard because once you lose, right, you sort of lose your Yonko status. So I'm not saying Luffy's going to lose. I'm just saying that he's not going to actually rescue Vegapunk. And then they're going to find out, or the world's going to find out, that it's not actually Luffy that did it. But this is all an if. There's a big what if, right? So right now, everything is playing into the factor that Luffy's fighting the Seraphim. He can't really put them down right now with the knowledge he has currently. Kizaru's pulling up, Saturn's pulling up. And right now, I don't think Big News Morgan knows that the Marines are pulling up, but essentially that's going to end later on be the story that the Marines are pulling up as well with Kizaru, especially with Saturn. But if the person succeeds in not only capturing Vegapunk, but also taking the Seraphim, that is all the influence you need. That one article will sweep through the lands, especially right now when the world is so turbulent with the Flame Emperor on the rise, with 2 new Yonkos, Buggy and Luffy being implemented or put on the throne. Not the throne, but like in that realm, being a higher caliber pirate now. So now you have Kizaru and Admiral being defeated, or one of the Gorosei members being captured. You have all this stuff that's going to happen in the world, all the stuff right now happening in the New World, and it's literally shaking to the point where like we don't know what's going to happen. And even with the fight between Blackbeard, Law, and Kid and Shanks, we're all assuming that it just makes sense. Blackbeard wins, Shanks wins. Easy pickings, we move. But let's say it doesn't happen as simple as we think, right? Let's say, remember when Luffy went to Whole Cake Island, remember Luffy didn't necessarily beat Big Mom, but Luffy went in, beat our first commander, took a poneglyph, and then left. And then that literally, Morgan spun it in a way that like made Luffy the 5th Yonko, right? The 5th Yonko was Dressrosa, but like basically spun it in a way that made Luffy look like he did more than he actually did, even though Luffy did a lot. So now let's say Law somehow gets away after fighting a Yonko. That's going to put some stake in Law. Let's say Kid gets away. Maybe Kid gets on the Elbath. Maybe somehow, some way he fights Shanks. Doesn't really do anything to Shanks, but not actually defeated by Shanks. It gets away as well. That's going to put some more stake in Kid. So now you have not only the trader on Elbath, but now you have these 2 other pirates who are already in the realm of a Yonko having the same bounty as to Yonko, and having a higher bounty than a previous Yonko when he was first implemented to the level of Yonko, with Kid and Law having a higher bounty than Blackbeard's original Yonko bounty. So the reason I'm saying this is because influence can be influenced by just one newspaper. So it doesn't really have to have influence currently, but after the events that happen on Egghead, or the events that happen with Law and Blackbeard, or the events that happen with Shanks and Kid, their influence can grow exponentially, especially if that person isn't aligned with anyone. Say they're not aligned with the Straw Hats. Say they're not aligned with the Marines. Say they're not aligned with the Gorosei or the Celestial Dragons. Say they're not aligned with like any person that we know so far. Them just joining the main stage with this major of an event will easily garner them the influence that they need to possibly be another 5th Yonko candidate, or just be a 5th Yonko and a Yonko candidate, right? But let's say they are attached to a force, right? Let's say it is possibly the Blackbeard Pirates. That in itself puts Blackbeard pirates on another level, right? So say Blackbeard does beat Law, right? And he also has Kobe, and he gets away from Garp, and then the people on Egghead Island are actually part of the Blackbeard pirates. That puts him a step above every single person in the verse. Not necessarily not necessarily power wise, but if they do get the seraphim power wise for sure. But that puts him on a step above every single person, because not only would he have the information punk records, not only would he have the world's strongest beings in the seraphim, not only would he have captured Vegapunk or killed Vegapunk, but he would also have gotten away from not only one Yonko crew, but also gotten away from an Admiral and a Gorsei member that went there to deal with something specifically himself. So now you're giving the influence the boost of all boosts, and it's actually crazy to even thinking about, right? But it's really interesting to see if the fifth Yonko is actually someone we don't know, but we'll have to wait and see. I already talked about the Shadow King theory, and I already talked about this situation what I feel is going to happen with Blackbeard. Because Blackbeard got the way he got it, and the people he has around him, I don't think Blackbeard is as safe as he may think, right? Blackbeard is a very smart individual. Obviously, he bided this time in order to find the Devil Fruit, in order to enact his plan. I get it. But at the same time, Blackbeard is also very conceited in a way that he may not realize everything that's going on around him. Like, he's very meticulous. Obviously, he picks and chooses his fights when he needs to fight, but at the same time, I think he has a lot of blind faith. Obviously, he took an Aokiji. Maybe he doesn't trust Aokiji. Some of the obviously Burgess and them don't really trust him that much. But at the same time, he took him in. And if that's the case, like, he can easily be backstabbed. Obviously, we already talked about the 10th Titanic captain. If it is Aokiji, the iceberg sucked on Titanic, that whole theory, XYZ. But also, you have these other pirates who are level 6 impelled down pirates. These are pirates with their own agenda, right? And just how Kaido said that as soon as they realize that you can't do what they need of you, they're going to betray you. And these are pirates. These are like the pinnacle of pirates, right? Maybe not Salmon Wolf, because we don't know much about him, but I can see Avar Pizarro doing it. I can see Katarina Devon maybe doing it. I can see Shiryu definitely doing it. I can see, maybe not Vasco Shot, but I can see some of these pirates betraying Blackbeard. But right now, the biggest thing, and we're talking about the Warlords, is Moria. And this was in my Shadow King video, basically saying that if Moria really is taken in by Blackbeard, you got to remember, Blackbeard killed Absalom. Like, he killed him. That's his man. Like, the reason why Moria became how he was today is because he went to fight Kaido, and Kaido wiped out his whole crew. He went to throw a bargain, start to amass another crew, but of all undead people, because he didn't want to lose his true crew again. And if they're dead, he could just bring them right back whenever he needs. But he still had Absalom, he still had Perona, he still had Dr. Hogback. He still had those people with him. And one of the people who held really close was Absalom, but Absalom's gone. Obviously, Perona's trying to find Moria right now, so they may interact again. But at the same time, right now, if Moria does join Blackbeard 4 now, I think Moria would actually just be buying his time in the shadows. But let's go back to the video I'm talking about at present. Influence can easily be manipulated with this one major event, because if that person is like a separate faction from every other faction in the world, and they garner not only Egghead information on Egghead, but also the Seraphim, they will have the power and influence immediately to be put into that 5th Yonko territory, right? And now, and I think that's a good segue to talking about territory itself. Realistically speaking, they may not have any territory, right? That's why they've been on Egghead for 2 months. But let's say they do get away from the world government. Let's say the Buster Call that's coming to Egghead doesn't actually succeed, right? Because people already made a theory that Lelouchia Kingdom wasn't actually destroyed because of Vegapunk. I mean, we'll have to wait and see. But the territory, they may have come from somewhere to that place in order to take over Egghead and actually enact their plan, or they may just take over Egghead by themselves with everything on Egghead, with the sea beasts below. They almost have an island reminiscent to Amazon Lily. But the big problem is the G14 base is like right around the corner. So the Marines can they can literally prepare to take down that island whenever it deems fit for them, right? But if that's not the case, they do get Egghead, they would have all the information on the Egghead, the pacifistas, the Mark IIIs, the Sea Beasts, the Seraphim, the capability to build more Seraphim, the capability to build more mechanized things, photon gloves. They have all this stuff, bubble guns. They have all this stuff in order to possibly fend off the Marines for X amount of time. Maybe they buy their time in order to escape. But the one problem with being a Yonko is territory, and that was what Luffy sort of garnered throughout the New World. Like when he first went to Fishman Island, he got Fishman Island under his belt, but then he went to Dressrosa. I'm not saying he was protecting Dressrosa, but after defeating Doflamingo and sort of and aiding Dressrosa, and then also getting the Grand Fleet, that's when the 5th Yonko title started to come on top, right? But for this new person to say they're a separate faction and not part of another faction, it'll be really hard for them to say, okay, now they have Egghead as a territory, and to keep Egghead as a territory with G14 and the Marines already on their way. So it'll be really hard. So will that be the knock for this person, for this mysterious figure? Yes, for sure. But at the same time, if it is a Vegapunk or someone who has been studying the island for a very long time, it may be a situation where they're able to fend off the Marines very easily because they know the ins and outs of this place and really seen an example of it with them shutting down the Frontier Dome, allowing Cypher Pole to come up, turning it back on, trapping everyone inside, turning up the Den Mushies, capturing CP0 and the Cypher Pole agents, keeping them in the underground old Devil Fruit lab without anyone noticing for a very long time, being able to sneak in, get Vegapunk, get him out of there. They've already done so much that they probably have this territory in the back of their mind and actually understands what they need to do with it. And heck, if it is Moria, maybe there's another filler bark and they actually have a mobile ship or a mobile island that they can just move wherever they want, capturing ships and capturing other pirates. Who knows? But territory can easily be gained, and so can influence. So I feel like with power, even though with power comes great responsibility, but with power you can get influence and territory fairly easily. And Blackbeard was a perfect example of that. When he got the power, when he got the power from Whitebeard, he beat Ace. Got the influence, got into Impel Down, got a crew. With that crew, beat Whitebeard, killed Whitebeard, got his power, took over the islands, beat the Whitebeard pirates, and then got territory. So essentially, with power, you can gain influence and territory fairly easily, right? And the last thing to talk about is threat. What is their threat level to everything that's going on in the world? And I think it is the highest, right? Because they essentially have everything they need. Like when I say everything, they have everything they need. Now imagine with Luffy, right? Luffy getting into the new world, the biggest thing was, or Luffy starting his journey as a pirate, the biggest thing was he needs a crew. These people that actually who have aspirations just like him, that can fill in the gaps that where he needs to be filled in, like navigator, musician, helmsman, shipwright, all that stuff, doctor. He needed those people on his ship, right? He needed them with him, right? So now that and then you travel out through, he gets more people in his crew. At the same time, for him to become the Pirate King, he needed someone to read the poneglyphs. He needed a ship. He needed to get powerful. He needed to be so strong that he could protect his crew whenever it need be. He needed to be so powerful to be able to defeat the top tiers in the verse. He needed all these things in order for him to finally get the Pirate King, right? In order for him to at least be on the right track to become Pirate King, right? So now this new person, right? You should say it's a brand new person. What do they have in order to possibly get to if they're vying for the One Piece, right? They have the power, they have the crew, they basically have all seraphim who are around first commander level, which is perfect for them. They have sub-tier people who are the Mark 3s who are just as powerful. They have basically an ancient weapon in the Sea Kings and the mechanized Sea Kings, so they can take down ships whenever they want. So they have weapons too. They have punk records with all the information they possibly could need. They have information on the ancient kingdoms already, so they probably know how to read poneglyphs. Vegapunk said they already were reading poneglyphs, so they know how to read poneglyphs. So they have poneglyph language. They have knowledge of poneglyphs and how to read poneglyphs. They have power in order to traverse the seas and fight these top tiers. They have the know-how. I mean, by know-how, I mean they have a way to possibly like traverse the seas, because I'm hoping they know how to traverse the seas because they've been living on the seas for so long. And they have essentially, I'm not gonna say a navigator, but with the knowledge that the Vegapunk has, I feel like they can easily navigate throughout the seas by themselves with whatever information they get from Egghead. So they have everything they need. They have power, navigation, and knowledge. And that's truly all you need to be a Pirate King or be the 5th Yonko. And then if they get the influence, bada bing, bada boom, realest man in the room, please stand up. And that is whoever this shadowy figure, the person who among us is. They truly would be the biggest threat in the seas right now, because taking down the world's greatest mind, or taking in the world's greatest mind, puts you in a realm of greatness by itself, right? So let's say the world's strongest creature was Kaido, right? So Kaido was the strongest, and at that pinnacle, he was known as one of the most feared men in the world. 1v1, lance your air, bet on Kaido, right? So now you have the world's smartest man, the greatest mind, the person who can recreate devil fruits, the person who can you can lose the lineage factor to create humans or humanoids and basically make these human weapons that can rival warlords or Yonkos or XYZ, right? But not only that, but at the same time, you have information that can be used to do other things. It's not just strictly mechs that he has information on. He's also essentially a doctor. He's also essentially, not astrologist. Technically, he could be an astrologist, but also an archaeologist. So now you have the world's greatest mind that could help you do anything. And that's why what Kaido could do with strength, Vegapunk would do with his brain. Not only can he recreate someone as powerful as Kaido, but at the same time, he can also recreate someone as powerful as Kaido, but he also knows things about the ancient kingdom. He also knows how to knows how to traverse the seas. He also knows how to get to the One Piece. He also knows where one of the biggest pieces in finding the One Piece is, and that is on Elbaf. And frankly speaking, we don't know much about Shanks, but Shanks was close with the Gorosei. The Gorosei met. When was we ever see the Gorosei meet 4 people? I think in the series. I think it was Sengoku. Can't remember if it was Sengoku or not, but I know they interact with Sengoku. But they met Akainu. They met. Oh yeah, 4, maybe 5. So let's just say I think they met Sengoku. I can't remember off the top of my head, but they meet with Im-sama. They met with Akainu. They met with Shanks, and then they met with Vegapunk, but also Kizaru now. Kizaru with Saturn. So essentially, you have a person who could possibly also get you the in with the Gorosei. Especially, that would be the greatest trading chip. Like, listen, man. Like, you guys need something from Vegapunk. I'm protecting Vegapunk. Like, I know you come in here, you want to X him off. I get it. But at the same time, he's under my jurisdiction now, right? So if there's something that we can work out, let's work it out. But if not, skedaddle. And to be honest, what could they do? What could they do in that situation? Obviously, they could bring the admirals. They could send all 3 admirals. But then that's why the 5 kings, the new emperor, shakes the world. Because right now, they can't put all the resources in one direction with everything that's going on right now. You have the Prince of Alabasta is dead. Vivi missing. Flame Emperor on the rise. Revolution is probably on the move. Right? Maybe Flame Emperor is dead. We don't know. But then you have one Yonko on Egghead with the person trying to go X off Vegapunk. You have another Yonko fighting the worst generation with Law, a person that you actually may need. You have another Yonko fighting Useless Captain D Kid. Another person that you may overlook, but at the same time, he could be just as powerful. Let's say he survives and goes somewhere else, and he's also fighting for the One Piece. We all have our attention on Luffy. We all have our attention on Law. We all have our attention on Blackbeard. We all have our attention on Shanks. But hey, Kid is in the picture too. Like, his goal is to get to the One Piece. Obviously speaking, his journey is probably the hardest out of everyone's. But at the same time, he's also another faction that is there. And on top of that, you still have these 7 warlords to worry about. You did not capture Boa. Boa is still running around. Maybe Doflamingo gets free, but maybe not. Who knows? Moria, we have no idea. Jinbei is now with the Straw Hats. Mia Crocodile now teamed up, and you have Kuma climbing the red line right now, ready to blow the whole red line, or maybe even Mary Joao up. Who knows? So, like, if you want to focus all on this one island, go for it. But at the same time, the world right now is turned upside down, just like Blackbeard said. And Doflamingo's probably reading the newspaper laughing, because right now, if you want to focus on just Egghead, listen, man, you're going to have big problems. And that's why me having Vegapunk as a trading chip is the biggest chess piece or the chess move in the series, whether it be with Blackbeard or whoever it is. But at the same time, if this person is a new faction or a new person and pushed into the series, this person has now jumped into the realm of literally being his own faction in the power balance. You had the warlords, they're gone. So now you had the Marines and the Seraphim, right? Or the Seraphim is supposed to take over the Marines, so it's just Marines, Yonko. But at the same time, here's that little crack again, coming again. You had the Marines is 1/3, Yonko 1/3, and then the person who has the Seraphim and Egghead as another. Because honestly speaking, he'd have the biggest and the greatest bargaining chip in the world. And obviously, if he goes to Luffy, that 1/3 turns to 2/3, and the Marines are pretty much out of luck. But they make it a Seraphim to make it split half again. But honestly speaking, who knows? But the 5th Yonko, the one who's hiding in the Shadow King is what I'm calling him right now. Maybe Moria, maybe Luffy, maybe Shiryu, maybe Katarina Bond, who knows? But right now, there is a faction on Egghead who is playing like they're Dofi, manipulating everything that's going on right now, and I'm loving it so much. And that person is truly the 5th King, the Chateau King to be exact. And honestly speaking, I hope you guys are excited as I am, because obviously the last 3 minutes of me speaking just now, I got excited even thinking about it. But like I say at the end of every single video, please leave a comment down below and tell me what you guys think. And don't forget, let's get my big face on the camera, hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the bell button to come back next time, and remain enlightened, y'all. Get right, don't get left, and stay polished. Peace.